Welcome to another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Once again, I'm doing a variety of different character voices until someone complains or maybe even notices. Here's the lineup for this week: the news, community bulletin board, and 55 Plus news. We will also have the latest town hall meeting and some more on-the-ground reporting. That's the show. Now here's the social media reminder. You can watch us on YouTube at Arlington Weekly News and the number 1, also on Facebook, and you can listen on the radio at WERA 96.7 FM. Now, on to the news.
As of Sunday evening, October 4th, reports show that the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington had exceeded 4,000. Regular viewers and listeners will note the continuing increase in our reported case numbers. On Monday, October 5th, the following message arrived via email from the Arlington County News account, and we quote, "Arlington has joined the Northern Virginia Eviction Prevention and Community Stability Task Force, a diverse coalition of stakeholders from the housing sector in Northern Virginia to identify best practices to prevent evictions and stabilize households." The task force was co-convened by the Northern Virginia Affordable Housing Alliance and Legal Services of Northern Virginia. It includes advocates, attorneys, landlords, property owners, and human service providers, along with representatives of local government agencies, the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and Senator Tim Kaine's office.
Here is a later extract from that same message. The task force has created the Northern Virginia Eviction Prevention and Housing Stability Toolkit, which promotes tenants' rights, education, and access to rental assistance and other public relief programs. In addition to information for tenants, the toolkit includes guidance for local governments on how to help small, market-affordable property owners avoid foreclosure, and recommendations for state and federal policies to mitigate the impact of COVID-19-related housing instability. For Arlington residents and landlords, we want to emphasize that there are resources and options available now, and new ones coming online all the time, said Heather Benner, who runs the Arlington Community Assistance Bureau within the county's Department of Human Services and is a member of the task force. She went on, "The county, community organizations, and other partners are providing financial assistance, food assistance, and health assistance for those who need it." End quote. Arlington residents are encouraged to call 703-228-1300, or they can visit the website publicassistance.arlingtonva.us for help. Renters and landlords can find additional information and resources on Arlington's COVID-19 Coronavirus Frequently Asked Questions for Renters and Landlords website. For more information on the Northern Virginia Eviction Prevention and Community Stability Task Force, contact Nora Daly at Nora Daly, that's NORADALY, at nvaha.org.
Our friends at Arl Now have posted an announcement that their parent company, Local News Now, is bringing on 3 new employees. 2 of the new employees will occupy newly created positions. The 3rd new employee will be replacing Arl Now's Tyson's reporter editor. The decision is reportedly based on the organization's strong recovery in their advertising business. We at Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News are delighted to hear of Arl Now's business boost, although we don't have any advertising on this show. We do note that the inclusion of a new item about your own news organization seems indicative of a slow news week, but to some extent, news is news. Elsewhere, Daryl Beckton, 46, died on October 1, 2020, after he was found unconscious in his cell at the Arlington County Detention Facility at 4:17 p.m. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful, and after Arlington Fire and Rescue units arrived, Mr. Becton was pronounced dead by Medic 102 at 4:48 p.m. on scene. Mr. Becton had been arrested on September 29, 2020, and charged with probation violation, awaiting his court hearing. Mr. Becton's family was notified of his death later in the evening. An autopsy by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner will be conducted to determine cause of death. Following standard procedure, the death is being investigated by the Arlington County Police Department. This announcement was followed by a curious message, and we quote, "Anyone with information related to this investigation is asked to contact the police department's tip line at 703-228-4180. End quote. With the death having occurred after the victim had been in the detention facility for over a day, it's hard to see what additional information anyone outside the facility could provide. Finally, the following report has appeared on the county's crime reports site. Robbery at the 4500 block of Lee Highway. At approximately 11:20 p.m. on October 4th, police were dispatched to the report of an armed robbery. Upon arrival, it was determined that two suspects entered a business and approached an employee at the counter. Suspect 1 pointed a knife at him and told him to open the cash register, then began to take money from it. Suspect 2 brandished a knife, then took money from the second register. As the suspects exited the business, they stole boxes of merchandise from behind the counter. The suspects then fled in a vehicle prior to police arrival. The investigation is ongoing. That's the news. Now it's time for Community Bulletin Board, or CBB.
Hi, and welcome to CBB. This may cheer things up a little bit. The Arlington Philharmonic has announced their 2020 to 2021 virtual season. The season is as follows. For October, Hispanic Heritage Month. For November, Veterans Day performance. December, a performance celebrating the close of 2020. For January, new music for the new year. For February, Black History Month. In March, Women in Music. In April, a celebration of spring. In May, the Crescendo Youth Chamber Music. In June, the Pops performance. All events will stream on Facebook and will be available on the Arlington Philharmonic YouTube channel. While you enjoy the virtual programs, it might be good to remember that at a regular concert, there would be the provision for donations. The next event is called Beginner's Cycle. However, it's not just for small children, and training wheels are not involved. It's a chance to get your heart pumping with an instructor-led cycle class at Thomas Jefferson Park. Each class will help enhance cardio conditioning, which is great for all ages and ability levels. Students will warm up, climb, sprint, interval train, and cool down during a 35-minute session. That's coming up on Wednesday, October 14th from 9:15 to 9:50 a.m. at Thomas Jefferson Park, 3501 2nd Street South. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Just mention activity number 782007-11. Now here's a program for children between the ages of 3 and 5 years. It's called Owls. And, spoiler alert, it's all about owls. It's one of the preschool programs that are offered throughout the year at both Gulf Branch and Long Branch nature centers. The theme for preschool programs is repeated during the month, So please register for only one session at each nature center per month. Caretakers must stay with their child during the program. This one's on Wednesday, October 14th from 4 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. at Long Branch Nature Center at Glen Carlin Park, 625 South Carlin Springs Road. Again, registration is required. You can register online or call 703-228-4747 and reference activity number 612910-E. The last event is for children aged 2 to 10. You only have to register the child, but caretakers must also attend. It's called Nature Story Time, and everyone can enjoy a story with one of the naturalists, along with the chance to meet a live animal. For information, call 703-228-6535. That's on Friday, October 16th, from 11 o'clock to 11:30 a.m. at Long Branch Nature Center at Glen Carlin Park, 625 South Carlin Springs Road. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Just mention activity number 612910-W. Now it's time for the 55 Plus News.
Howdy. We'll start off with another scenic bike ride. Now, this isn't a repeat announcement because every time you get to go to a different place. These friendly bike rides feature scenic views along the trails in your own backyard, more or less. This one starts in the town of Vienna, so that's a pretty big backyard, but it's a nice area. The pace is casual and there will be ample time for socializing with fellow riders. Everyone will regroup several times to make sure everyone catches up and is safe. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 911700-15. That's on Thursday, October 15th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at the Vienna Community Center parking lot. That's 120 Cherry Street, Southeast in Vienna. As an out-of-town bonus, there's free parking. Next up, poker. Now, originating in the USA, poker has become one of the most popular card games in the world. There are a lot of variations, some of which might account for the popularity. Don't worry though, you won't need to wear extra layers of clothing for this event. Join volunteer Russ Miller for a beginner's basic crash course to learn Texas Hold'em poker. He'll also discuss options for playing online with friends. Here's my hint. If you make sure to not play for money, then you'll still be friends afterwards. That's on Thursday, October 15th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock noon, and this is a virtual event. You can register online or call 703-228-4747, activity number 911601-2. The next event is called Journey Around the World. Now, this is your chance to share your travel experiences to destinations with others. They look forward to hearing about your adventures. It's an open discussion with other 55-plus Globetrotters. Well, they call them Globetrotters, but Meadowlark Lemon won't be participating. Armchair travelers are also invited to join and listen. That's on Thursday, October 15th from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m., and it's another virtual event. Register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 911402-14. Finally, there's something called Garden Group. It's a chance to share your knowledge and experiences and learn with others who understand the challenges, rewards, and wonder of gardening. It will be led by Extension horticulturalist Kirsten Conrad and master gardeners. October's topic is tree and shrub selection, and planting. That's on Monday, October 19th from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. and it's a virtual event. Register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 911401-1. Well, that's about it for 55 Plus News. Now let's check out that town hall meeting.
Arlington's first October Town Hall meeting took place on Friday, October 2nd at 12:30 p.m. Attendees included Katie Crystal, Matt DeFerranti, Dr. Ruben Varghese, Dr. Aaron Miller, Jim Schwartz, and County Manager Mark Schwartz. Katie Crystal opened the meeting with a warning to everyone that Arlington is now about to enter the regular flu season. She stressed the need for everyone to remain vigilant. Matt DeFerranti reported that the positivity rate for COVID in Arlington was still in the 3 to 4% range, but there was still community spread. There are 2 more pop-up events scheduled, one in Buckingham and one in Green Valley later in October. There's also been some planning about what they call Winterization Strategies. This is for restaurants who want to have continuing outdoor seating. They're exploring the possibility of allowing outdoor heaters and temporary tents. Meanwhile, contact tracing continues. There are also some concerns about the upcoming Halloween events. They provided a list of safer activities and suggested that everyone follow the Virginia Department of Health recommendations. Katie Crystal said that in her neighborhood, they might be having a socially distanced costume parade. Then came the questions. Dr. Ruben Varghese fielded some of them. He mentioned that Arlington now has over 4,000 cases of COVID. Community spread is still going on, and the biggest age groups affected are 18 to 29 and people up to the age of about 64. He also pointed out that regular Halloween masks are not adequate, and he suggested that people put on a regular COVID mask and just decorate that instead. Another question came up about apartment dwellings and multifamily units. The question was, has the county reached out? Matt DeFerranti replied, yes, with both letters and phone calls. Jim Schwartz added that based on the response, though, they need to do more, and advised people to look for an update soon. Some additional details about contact tracing were provided by Dr. Varghese. He said, if you get a phone call, look for a 703-228 prefix for the call to avoid scams. Contact tracers will never ask you for your social security number, bank information, or any other confidential information, but scammers might. He said that follow-up usually is within 24 to 72 hours. He also mentioned the COVID-Wise application available through the Virginia Department of Health. Says it's good, but you may not be contacted unless there is some other case reported that affects you. Generally, no news is good news. A question came up about contact tracing versus case count. Many cases makes contact tracing more difficult, although Arlington has been better about this than most places. The rule is, the lower the case count, the more effective the tracing. A question came up about property taxes. Matt DeFerranti replied that there is a link where people can obtain help and suggested that people go through the treasurer's office. Mark Schwartz said that they have many people ready to help at the Bosman building. They can help renters as well. A question came up about nursing homes. It turns out that the visitation policy is decided by each individual establishment. However, even if visits are allowed, they still advise using maximum caution. Everyone in the community must try to protect each other and, when in doubt, stay at home. A question came up about parking situations relative to temporary outdoor seating arrangements. There are timing considerations. The questions about easing of meter charges between 6 and 8 p.m. One questioner pointed out that reduced metering reduces the need for people to touch meters and may help to increase consumer activity. Mark Schwartz replied that he recommended something called the Parkulator and Park Mobile Phone apps. Regarding the parking hours, he said they were adopted 2 budgets ago. However, in emergencies, the county is flexible. A question about testing came up, specifically about rapid antigen testing. Dr. Aaron Miller said the numbers that come in show that the efforts are good. He said that 11,650 PCR tests have been administered through county sites, including pop-ups, which constitutes 20% of the total county testing. The hours at the Arlington Mill walk-up site are extended to include the first Saturday of every month. He also added that at each pop-up site, they would have about 300 tests available. That seemed to be enough for the need based on their experience. They are starting to use more saliva-based testing methods at the pop-ups, largely because the nasal tests are invasive and uncomfortable. The difference between rapid antigen testing and the PCR testing is significant. Rapid antigen testing detects protein reaction to a virus, and it has its use when dealing with larger groups. However, the PCR test detects the virus itself. The state has not yet gotten their rapid antigen tests yet, and it's the state's decision as to how to proceed. Dr. Varghese said that the state does work to some extent with the federal government. The rapid antigen testing is good to separate groups of sick people from groups of well people, but it also requires a special skill set to administer properly. For specific COVID cases, PCR tests are still the best. A question came up about how the Virginia Department of Health gets data from non-public sources, such as Preston's. The answer was there's usually an electronic feed, but Dr. Varghese pointed out that in this situation, and I quote, "We are flying the plane as we're building it." He did add that the data gathering effort applies not just in Arlington, but for the overall region. Matt DiFerrante fielded a question about voting outdoors. He observed that the voting at 2200 Clarendon Boulevard was nearly outdoors, although the actual voting location is inside some open doors. They are working on setting up some outdoor drop boxes. Mark Schwartz noted that based on his observation, this is a good time to vote at 2200 Clarendon Boulevard. On October 17th, more locations will open. Drop boxes have been ordered. They might even manage to have one at the Central Library. More progress is yet to come. Katie Crystal introduced a question about collaborating with businesses and the efforts the county was making. Mark Schwartz replied that the county has been offering several seminars with tips for small businesses and also technical advice for both small businesses and restaurants. Meanwhile, they are hoping for more help from Congress. Katie Crystal pointed out that the Virginia State Code does not differentiate between restaurants and bars. All the rules that apply to one apply to the others. She also mentioned the need to work with the owners of restaurants and bars given the expiration of the social distancing ordinance. Matt DiFerrante mentioned that the positivity rate recently was down as low as 2.9%. Meanwhile, communications efforts continue. The county said they did a town hall in Spanish the previous Thursday night. They reached the end of their questions earlier than usual. Katie Crystal closed with a mention of the census getting closer to a complete count, and that at least they had been allowed to continue counting through October 31st. The meeting wrapped at 1:10 p.m., with the next meeting planned in 2 weeks. For signs of the times, all we can say is that everybody's putting up their Halloween decorations early because they can't wait for this year to hurry up and be over. And that concludes this week's show. We'll be back next week. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well. Here's some bonus detail for the TV viewers. This first image, well, may not have anything to do with Halloween, but maybe it does. It certainly looks appropriate. Next up, we've got something of somebody's lawn that definitely has the Halloween feel to it with the many arms. Next up, there's somebody greeting us from underground with a lantern. I guess he's looking for an honest trick-or-treater. Then we've got just a more or less polite sort of thing, trick-or-treat and R.I.P., which always makes me think of the politician Rip Sullivan. Then we have an orderly parade of small pumpkins. This is followed by an impressively designed, well-constructed Happy Halloween greeting. Then we have a green alien, which may or may not be Halloween. It may just be symbolic of Arlington's inclusive attitude. Then we have a bevy of ghosts with a number of hearts and some nice gravestones. We do have the obligatory bad pun. In this case, here lies Chris P. Bacon. Then we have some chairs, which don't have to do with Halloween, but by the time I was done walking that far, I was very happy to see them. COVID is still a factor, as witnessed by the pink flamingos wearing masks. Bandanas, actually, but for a flamingo, it's probably okay. Then there was the American Pest sign on the van, which reminds me of some people's attitude toward the media in general. Then we had some coiled cobweb that was either coiled cobweb but was equally menacing as some kind of pale jellyfish. Then we got to the really pun-filled portion. Helen back, she was a real trip. Willie B back. George B gone, with the poem, "Here lie the bits and pieces of Jumpin' George, still had bungee cord left at the bottom of the gorge." The puns continue with Diane Rott, with the caption, "Here lies an atheist, all dressed up and no place to go," and Sue D. Bum, with the verse, "By the sewer she lived, by the sewer she died. They said it was murder, but it was suicide." A nearby skeleton apparently found this all very amusing. A few more puns. Alex Blaine later. "He was so brave, he was so cute, until he forgot his parachute." Paul Tergeist, "Here lies Pa, Pa like women. Ma caught Pa with two a-swimmin', here lies Pa." Sir John Strange, "Here lies an honest lawyer, and that is strange." A stone for Benjamin Button, born 2017, died 1933. By the way, for trivia buffs, that story was written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And that really is the end.